right, so no, we're recording now for Friday, July 15th. It is now the 15th day of the PD. Woohoo! So you're 3/4 of the way done. Can you believe it? So today you had been working on 6.4 or 6.9, data and information. And you had also been working on my directions, which we saw some emails going through the Google group, which are really good. So does anybody want to ask any questions or give any comments about those?
I think you saw there was some question about the not being able to get a GPS fix in App Inventor. And Pauline's answer was try going outdoors, try going near a window. This is something, yeah, that you're going to have to worry about in the classroom if students want to do location-aware apps. They're very hard to test indoors.
This is a good one. The My Directions one is a good one. It's Unit 7, so it's at the end, but we're going to keep it in 7. Is that right? So it will be at the end of the course in April or so, before they do the AP exam. This is a good one because of the GPS requirement. It's a good one to do a little field trip with them. And I don't mean like going off and going somewhere off of your school grounds. I mean just getting them up out of the classroom, walking around outside and doing something, maybe involved with doing something with the school, right? Directions around the school or something like that. When they're working with the GPS. So it's a good excuse for them to get out of the classrooms. I think they'll like it because of that, and they'll like it because a lot of them are interested in GPS. That reminds me, kind of a little bit off topic, going back to yesterday, we talked about the Explore task. So Explore 1 is a practice. It's meant for scaffolding and preparing the students to answer and do the performance task prompts for the College Board and the official Explore 2 they do alone. They have to choose their own topic for that one. So Explore 1, we've put in there, as you saw, we had some phone monitoring apps. And I changed the information a little bit that what was in there. So the links that were in there for Explore 1, if you had looked, were links to the websites for each of those apps. And what I did is I went, because I realized when I looked again that they kind of updated them and they're really trying to do marketing and get you to buy the software. That's not just for the phone, but also for the computer. So I went and I saw that they were doing all this marketing and trying to charge. So I found each one on the Play Store directly, and the links are there to download them directly on the Play Store. So you can go to that link on the Play Store and download from there onto your tablet, or at least you know what to search for in the Play Store. The goal is to have them go to the Play Store and install the app. And I think people were getting sidetracked by some of the ones that were costing. What I didn't do, and I hadn't done in a while, I don't know if anybody else had done this, was actually try to use the app and sign into them. So had anybody done that with any of those 4? That might be a good test case. I haven't done that in a while, so I'm not sure if they block you off from seeing any of the interface, but the idea is to see what the interface is and see what are the capabilities of those. And remember, they pick one, right? They don't have to be using it to its full capabilities. I know some things charge to get a pro or a premium mode. That's, it's not necessary. They just need to be able to see what the app looks like and kind of get a sense of what it's capable of doing. We chose this topic because, yes, it relates to apps, but I was just responding to one of our mentors online in another hybrid group, and saying that I think that you are more than capable, and it would be okay to choose a topic that you think would work for your students. The end goal really is to have every student doing the same topic for Explore 1, because it's much easier, so that way they can focus on getting the research done answering the prompts for the first time and understanding what they mean. Like we were trying to figure out what do these prompts mean, and getting the tools that they need to be able to answer, you know, the same questions on a completely new topic. So what made me think of mentioning this again was the talk of GPS. So phone monitoring apps. If you had to tell your students, or if I told you, think of a computing innovation, what would you want to write your research paper on? I can tell you that you're not going to get a student that says, oh, I want to write on phone monitoring apps, right? That's not a topic that they are particularly like really interested in, they're going to think of. So some popular topics that we've seen over the last year or so when they do the official task that they've been thinking of on their own and getting excited about are GPS, Bluetooth, virtual reality, smartphones. These are the topics that they think of on their own and they get interested in wanting to research them. So this is important because you don't want to pick a topic for the Explore 1 that they would be really disappointed to find out I can't write on that during my second one, because if you do a practice on it, they can't use that same topic for Explore 2. Does that make sense? So if you choose GPS, and a lot of them were like, oh, I wanted to do GPS, and you tell them, sorry, we already did a practice on it, and I helped you so much that we can't do it on you can't do it on GPS now. I think they would be a little bit disappointed. They could do it, yes, but I think it would be disappointing. So if you plan on coming up with your own topic and your own resources for expanding and working on scaffolding with that Explorer 1, and you don't want to do phone monitoring apps, pick a topic that wouldn't necessarily be of interest as much to the students that they may not think of their own. So there's one, I saw another teacher who did it on talking toys, right, and how those have impacted us. Not really a topic that the students would think of on their own and say, I want to write on that, right? It's not something they would necessarily be interested in. Maybe, yes, but as what we've seen, nobody has chosen that on their own yet, because we have some samples. So just some thoughts. I didn't know, if you would try out those phone monitoring apps, see if you could download and install them and at least see what the app looks like. That's the idea. They pick one, and it's really to focus on scaffolding and getting them to understand the prompts and how to cite research. It is the case
that they don't have to pay for any of those apps to try them out, right?
That's what I wanted to confirm. I was trying to get all the direct links yesterday, so they're all free to install. They're free to get and install. What I wasn't sure of when I didn't get time to check, and I haven't checked in a while, is if you can still create an account and see even like a basic version of the app for free, right? You don't need this premium mode or anything like that they're advertising. So when we had last checked, yes, you could access them all for free, and you could use just kind of try them out a bit, get a feel for what they look like and how they work and what they do for free. So sorry, GPS, my directions. That's what got me thinking about the Explore topic, and I just wanted to make sure we touched on that, because I know someone had thought that you had to pay. Kristen, wherever you are, I'm going to mute you.
So my directions went okay? Tony shaking his head no.
No. So Tony was still having trouble, right? I think you had sent another email, but I didn't get a chance to take a look at it. So even though I sent the suggestions, Larry said those suggestions were okay. The troubleshooting, little things that we might forget.
I appear to have the user unfriendly tablet. It absolutely doesn't like me. I took the tablet outside. It didn't change its operation. I got it outside my Wi-Fi range. I accessed the Google Maps, and it did exactly find its own location on Google Maps. But then when I go back in and try to get it to use the app, it just keeps leaving a blank in current location. And then it has picked some random spot somewhere in Waterford and is using that for the starting location for any place I want to find directions to. And I can't see where there's an error in my code. I watched the solutions video, and
all So, yeah, I think he sent his AIA file and I didn't get a chance to look at it.
We'll take a look. I suspect it's not your file, something with the device.
Mine, this is Larry. I was outside for about a minute, and in the beginning it didn't, and then all of a sudden it did, like, recognize my current. I was using the app trying to, like, you know, get it to reset and establish itself, and anyway, it finally recognized my current location. So that I got that to work, but I didn't get the API changes to work. So I don't know, Anthony, did you stay outside for a while?
Yeah, I was out for a good 5 or 6 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been plenty for me. So I don't know. And you changed that thing to on the
Location, yeah, in settings is on.
Now, I'm curious, were you on the companion or did you actually package the app?
I did both. I mean, I took it outside with the app off, and I turned the app on, and
So you were using the companion or did you actually package and install?
he answered, but he's on mute.
I didn't unpack it and install it. I just used it off the companion.
Try the installation. Did anybody else try it with installing it? But we'll take a look at the AIA file. It's hard to say right now what's going on.
Yeah.
Everyone should do the Pokemon app for the Explorer. I'm sure you'll find someone who will want to do that this year. Something tells me that will come up. Sorry, I'm catching up with the chat. Feel free to jump in if there are other successes or failures. How might this...
So it looked like also there was a disconnect between the API documentation, which was on the text version, but not on the Google Course Builder version. It just amazes me that we're just finding out about that now.
Yeah.
I wonder how come nobody reported it during the school year. That worries me a little bit, but it's good that you did catch it and we fixed it, right? You fixed it.
I put the link to the document directly in the enhancement, so if you had it open, just refresh it, and you should see that same line that was, pretty much the same line that was inside the text version is now in Google Course Builder under that enhancement number. I personally think that there are some other things that, the text version I think was written by Ralph, right? And the video was done by Professor Wolber. So there are some cases of that where we have two or three different people working on the same lesson when it was first put into Google Course Builder. So I think this is one personally that needs to have more matchup and linking between the Google Course Builder version with the video and that, the text there versus the Google Doc that's linked in. Because I do think there was some valuable information in that text version that may not have been in the video too.
The videos changed that we talked about yesterday, Ralph?
I'm sorry?
Were the videos changed that we talked about yesterday where the videos behind the introductory video was from 7:10, I think?
Oh, I don't think I didn't get a chance to fix that yet.
After you watch the initial opening video for the Build My Directions app, there are two videos that pop up underneath that.
So what lesson is that?
7:6, My Directions.
Okay.
After you watch the initial video, two other videos pop up.
One is supposed to be a solutions video.
No. The solution's all the way at the bottom, but right in the exact same spot as the introductory video, there are two other videos in that same spot in a vertical orientation.
This is on 7, My Directions tutorial?
Yes.
Because when I look at that page, I see the preview video, about a minute long, and then I just see one other video.
Yes, directly under that preview video. So once you watch the preview video, two other videos pop up from a different unit.
Is that right? So Pauline, I'm not seeing that.
Huh?
I think that's YouTube just giving you suggested videos at the end. I don't think it's actually tied to it. I think it's just YouTube suggesting, hey, watch these videos. And because of the shape of the window,
He's saying,
it looks like two.
Which one? Which video?
he's saying that after the preview, he's seeing 2 other videos, not besides the solutions video
Oh, yeah. So after you watch it. So once you get to the end
of this video.
of this video, if you open it up.
Yeah, but one of them's like my broadcast hub, and one's a different one.
Because
Oh,
they're all
I
on
see,
his,
yeah.
they're all on
These
his
are all
accounts.
Dave Wolber's videos, so you're right. I mean,
I just haven't seen that on any of the last.
pre-commercial advertising there. Yeah, I see what you mean now. Just ignore that. But that is a little weird. You're right. They don't have anything to do with this lesson.
Yeah, I thought they were like, continuations, or that was part of the solution. And so I started to watch them, and I was like,
I wonder if you can fix that by fixing the link. I'll try. Because I don't, that you haven't seen that happen with other videos, right?
no, that's the first time. That's why I mentioned it.
Okay. I'll see if I can fix the URL for it. But thanks for catching that.
The other thing I ran into on this app that it was frustrating at first, but I finally figured out a way, is the save button automatically saves into the list. So if you're not sure if it's saved and you hit save again, it saves a copy of it. So I put an if else in so that it checks the list. So if you already have that address in there, it will not save another copy of the same address.
That's
good.
Because that was a bit of a pain at first. I had the same address like 5 or 6 times.
Maybe we should add that as a
Enhancement.
as one of the creative mini projects, because it requires else too, right?
Yeah, and then the other question I had, based on that, the database, it's essentially just a 2-column spreadsheet. There's no way to have a 3rd column, correct?
Well, no, there's just tag and value, but the value could be a list.
Well, where this is coming in is, like, I was thinking I'd like to save this one as I forgot his name, from the professor from California.
Wolbert?
He said you could save one as your work, and one as your school, and one as your gym. So it would be nice if it would be listed as just gym, not the street address. So, but I couldn't figure out a way to really get that done.
Yeah, so if you want your home and your school and your work, that would be 3 separate tags. Unless you wanted to get fancy and have one tag and a list with 3 separate entries in the list. Home, school, work. But then you're getting, then now you've got to read in the list and then grab the index, the items at index 1, 2, 3 for home.
You could use, what about parallel lists for that?
Yeah, I mean, you can put any kind of list you want in the value of a database.
Right.
Associated, but that's only going to be associated with a 1-word tag.
Right.
Can't you just swap out the database and maybe try and use fusion tables? Because the fusion table is just like a spreadsheet, and you can set it up and save the data to and from there.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that fixes Matt's problem or not. It seemed like Matt wanted to have one key or one tag plus 2 columns associated with it.
If he thinks about maybe think about gym, home, and school as rows in a spreadsheet and the address in a single column. That way you can save it as fusion tables, like 3 different records in a fusion table.
Yeah, but I think the thing with a fusion table is I don't know whether you can access it by key.
Access it by what? I didn't hear you.
By key, by tag. You can say, give me row whatever, but I don't know if you can say, give me the row associated with this tag.
So then perhaps it would have to be 2 columns. One column has the label and the second column has the address. And
Yeah,
so
I think if you go into fusion tables, you're gonna make it quite a bit more complex. You can, once you store something in the fusion table, you can get back a row ID. Now you're gonna have to keep track of those row IDs in your app somewhere.
Couldn't you just give those row items an index number like you would get if you were using an Access database? Every database in there gets the first column's always the index number, and you track your items through that index number, not the actual information associated with it.
Now, Google doesn't like index numbers. These row IDs are not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think.
Ralph, let me ask the question differently. Is there a way to I don't know, essentially save a nickname, you know, and access either the nickname or the list? And that's kind of what I'm looking for. If I call this address home or I call this address work, is there a way we can combine those two things where some things, if it's just an address, it's an address, but I have the option of saving this one as a nickname?
Would that work if like the first thing was saved in the first index and the second thing was a list? Can you have a list within a list?
Yes. So, for example, if you want to raise it, I'm not sure this gets at what it might be what Matt is suggesting here. I'm not sure I followed that, but suppose you had a tag that was just my locations, right? That was unique to you, and on that, associated with that tag, you had the value. The value was a list, and the list was my home, my work, my school, or okay? Those are tags. They're not associated with actual addresses. And then you would access your list of tags, and then you could go through and access each one of those tags would be associated with an address. See what I'm saying? I don't know if that gets you anywhere though, over having my locations and then having a list with your 3 actual locations as strings in that list: your home, your work, and your school.
All right, I'll play with it.
I was thinking with the parallel list, you could have one list that has my locations in the name, and then in the list of addresses, the first 3 will be the parallel indexes to those first 3 nicknames. So when you're loading it, if you just keep track of how many my locations you have, you know that you can add it to the beginning of the list, and then you'll know that the first whatever indexes on the list of addresses are parallel to those locations in the other tag. Something like that. I was thinking of something like that.
Yeah. You know, actually, so this is an interesting topic. I don't know if we're going off topic here or not, but if you have a database and you're going to have a parallel lists, right? 1, 2, 3, and A, B, C, let's say, where 1 is associated with A and 2 with B and so on. It would seem to me you'd want to also think about possibly putting those parallel lists in a list. So you can get the whole thing with one tag, one access of the database, rather than having to go twice once to get the first list, 1, 2, 3, and the second time you get the second list. Plus, encapsulating them in a list. So you have a list with 2 sublists that are parallel to each other. Having them all in one list allows you to see that, yeah, they actually do line up in parallel, rather than having them in 2 separate database locations. You know, so there's lots of ways to do this. I'm just not sure.
When you select a record from a list, let's say you had home on the end of the list item. Is there a way to parse off the last whatever, bits?
The last part of the last letters, you mean, in the address?
Yeah, I guess.
Of course there's a way. We're computer programmers.
All right, is there an easy way?
Well, for some it will be easy, for others it will not be so easy. Parsing is fun to do, and I think it's something some students will really enjoy doing. I'm not recommending it, I'm just saying it depends on the student. Yeah. But I mean, it's great that you're thinking of these, and I think this will be useful in your classroom, you know, because you're going to have students that finish these right away and want more ideas on what to do next, or maybe they'll have their own ideas. And you can give them some of these things you're coming up with as ideas for how to make it, you know, more advanced. But does anyone have any issues that came up besides the GPS thing?
Maybe it was addressed. I haven't checked the forum today, but I had an issue with the map showing up, so I couldn't figure out how to change the URL such that what would be the sidebar in a browser wouldn't show up.
Aha. You'd have to share your screen for I think, for me to follow.
I'm not at my computer, so I can't. I think.
You know, actually,
Kristen, I think shared a screen share of it, or maybe she just sent it. But essentially, the to and the from address and the directions are covering up the map itself, especially since there's no scroll on the screen. And I went through. I know that if I put the output into embed mode, it would hide that, but I couldn't find another workaround because embed won't work within App Inventor.
So you tried things like making the map smaller and adding scrolling and things like that, or?
I actually haven't tried adding scrolling yet. If somebody else has and they could share, that would be wonderful.
So there's a setting on the screen, screen one. Well, all the screens have.
Yeah, like the box to check whether to scroll or not.
Yeah, I mean.
I just haven't tried that yet.
Okay. Yeah, that would at least make it, you know, visible via scrolling. I'm not sure that's an ideal way to do it because you may want to actually have it with everything on the screen at once. And you're seeing, you know, some of the limitations of App Inventor. You don't have as fine-grained control of the UI, of the user interface, the visible part, as you do if you went to do this in Java and Android. You'd have a lot more control. You'd have a more up-to-date look and feel available to you if you did that. But
my issue was that my phone kept prompting me to use the Google Maps app that's on my phone. And every time I tried to use my app, I would get prompted and I'd have to say no thanks, and it really wouldn't bring me anywhere. So has anybody else experienced that? I mean, I had the map showing problem too, so I put it on a separate screen, which we talked about in the forums a little, but what about the prompting with us trying to fire up the Google Map app that's currently on the phone?
so how does it, can you describe exactly how that happened? What you did to have that come up?
So once I selected an address and I clicked Get Directions, it went to the other screen and I saw the blue bar up top.
You're in your app.
Yep, I'm in my app. I'm trying to think if I put the picture of that on the phone. I mean, up on the Google group. But so when I'm in my app and I put in an address, so I click the list picker, I select an address, and then I click Get Directions. And then whether I kept it on the same screen or went to a different screen, the experience was still the same. It had the blue bar up top that said your location and had the correct destination location, and then at the bottom I got prompted to use Google Maps.
So when you say Get Directions, are you clicking on a Google Map?
No, I'm clicking the button that I created in my App Inventor app that says Get Directions.
Huh. I don't know the answer. I'm thinking that, you know, when you do stuff like texting on your phone, when you have an incoming text message, if there are more than one app that's sort of registered with the operating system to handle text messages, then that's when Android would give you give you a menu of options. It says, you want to use this app or this app or this app to open this text message. You've seen that, right?
Yeah, I've seen that, and it's a different visual. It actually comes up as like a bottom bar.
But is it the same kind of thing where you have, I'm not understanding why that's happening within your app. I could see if it was something the operating system would do, because your app and Google Maps are both able to give directions.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to just put it on my phone right now through the companion, and just because I did it last night, God knows what hour. So just so I can articulate it better and see if anybody else is having that problem. I mean, eventually, if I kept clicking no thanks, it showed me the map behind the scenes, but I don't know if there's a way to disable that, or if we even care to disable it.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that's happening. Did that happen to others, that you ask for directions and you get a choice of Google Maps in your app?
I mean, I'm using my phone. I don't have the tablet that y'all have, so I'm not sure if that's something different.
Huh. How about other questions or issues? We're doing real good at answering them today.
Going back to Liz's question about the map.
I'm in the slump here. How about
Going back to, hey, Ralph, going back to Liz's question about the map, I think the URL address for the one in the starter app that we use versus his, I think might be different, because he had a button, looking at the video again, he had a button that he pushed to say show map, which got rid of the directions. We don't have that button, or at least I don't.
Yeah, his interface was different.
Yes, and so the Google interface on the video was different than ours. So that maybe he ran into this issue and he changed the user interface or that the URL for the get directions, and we don't have that.
Yeah, I think this goes back to that point of we had different people putting work into developing the lesson, and the text version I think was more of the direction we were going in. That was the original lesson, because we started Mobile CSP with just Google Docs, and then we started a Google site where we hosted the Google Docs and put little interactive exercises, and then the next year we transitioned over to Google Course Builder, and in doing that we had help from others like Dave Wolver and Jen Rosato helping and trying to create these videos to go along with the documents. And I don't think this was the only one. I think there's another one too, that it's what Dave talks about. It's great, he does a great job, but it just turns out to be slightly different than what's in the text version. So I think that's just like where we have to be careful about, it's good that tell us these things, right? I didn't know that this was one of the lessons that was different, what he said versus the tutorial book. I think we need to note these down and try to make them a little bit more consistent with if there are differences, because they should be the same, right?
Yeah.
Plus his is better if he has that button that has the map one though, because that's a big difference, because Liz and I know we both ran into the same issue. You could sort of see the map, but you can't really get to it and really access it. Where his, you could.
Is that what you see?
I can't see the map. I just
I'll put this on a second screen. That's the only reason why you can see the map. See, I put a button up there that says new.
Yeah.
And then now if I push this button, the blue arrow button down here, this is what I'm talking about.
I don't see.
See, Ralph?
I'm going to try it on my phone right now.
Yeah, I get that also.
Yeah, I think on the tablet you may need to be careful about the other components.
That's her phone though.
Yeah, but I get it on the tablet too.
Right. So some of the ones that are on the tablet, that when you're finding things that aren't lining up and they're going up to the screen, to first just check to make sure are all of the height and width set appropriately. That automatic can be trouble sometimes when you have a lot of things on the screen. If that height is set to automatic, it can push things down even further. That's why even with Paint Pot, I don't know if you remember, but with Paint Pot, we said, okay, you can take a picture with the camera, and the minute that you do that, the picture, if you had not set the canvas height to a certain amount or a certain percentage, that picture that you take with the camera will take over everything and will just look really long and distorted. Whereas if you set the canvas's height to a certain pixel amount or a certain percentage, it will stay right in a certain location on the screen. The percentage thing is actually something new. That was something they just added, is set the height and the width to a certain percentage of the screen. It used to be only pixels, and you'd be there trying to figure out, how do I make this abstract for a tablet and for it to work on a tablet versus a phone, or maybe two different tablets, and like one might be smaller, one might be larger, right? They actually put in that feature of the percentage, so you can use that. It helps out a little bit more. But just double checking when you put in these components that they're not something like it's the map or the web viewer isn't set to automatic, so it's stretching off of the screen, right? You can give it a set amount so that way it fits a certain height on the screen.
So I misspoke before when I said it wanted to use the Google Maps installed on the phone. That's what I thought it was, but it did say, that prompt said, do you want to navigate hands-free? And I either click no thanks or use the app. So I assumed it was the Google app, but I finally just clicked use the app, and it actually brought me to the Google Play Store that asked me to go to Maps, Navigation, and Transit.
So it's something about the maps.
Yeah, so when you click, once you get, I don't know,
Right here.
once you get this on your device, well, all that is that's a web viewer showing you a web page with a map and the other. I mean, if this was a big computer and you did that, you'd have lots of real estate to view the map. Now, once I click on that map, that's actually a Google map. So if I click on that little blue arrow there, that's going to navigate me, and that's where you're getting the choice of do you want to use the hands-free thing. So yeah, what you're doing there is you're dealing with Google's Maps, and it's going to behave the same way. All the component you're using in that app is a web viewer, so it's just like you're using a browser to view a web page.
And again, make sure that you're setting the height of the web viewer, so that way it doesn't stretch all the way down, right? Because it can be hard to scroll because it takes up the width of the screen. So it looks like you're just pulling the map and not scrolling on the page. So it's easier if you just set the web viewer to be a certain height so you can see everything. But all that it's meant to show you inside of the App Inventor app is what source address is, what the destination address is, and a little view of the little map to show you the route. And then you have to hit navigate or whatever, so it will take you to the corresponding app on your device.
Yeah, I mean, given the way I think this interface has changed, but of course, Google's changing things all the time.
Right.
You don't really need the label with current location anymore because Google's showing it to you in the map. It's in the page it's displaying, right? It's showing you your location, 300 Summit Street, and so on. So, yeah. So. Yeah, anyway, that solves that mystery, why you're getting prompted. It's Google Maps that's prompting you. Do we need to spend some time on, we need to pick our teams, Pauline?
Yeah.
I have it set up here. Is that what you're doing?
No, I was
Here, come and look what I have. So I have.
More teams of two, though.
Well, we just go 1, 2, 3. That's
We
2.
can actually set it up so it does too. So it randomly.
Well, I don't see that.
Why?
Random team generator. I don't want to risk losing
Yeah.
mine.
What did you?
Well, it's
you-
no
you
problem.
put
These are,
Andy,
you just go by 2. Huh?
right, Andy.
Well,
I know, and before I was able to select how many groups I wanted. So maybe it's the
This will
team one.
huh?
So maybe it is the team one. Yeah, quantity and then how many groups you want. So this would be 17, and you can copy and paste your names in to the text box. So 17 and new groups. Groups of, you know how many groups? 2, 8, yeah. So who's missing? Secret size. Secret quantities.
Yeah.
I think
So what about the Delaware?
James is going to handle those, I believe.
Okay.
Or we can do it after for the Delaware. For those with the Delaware, they're not doing the project.
Okay. So you want to hear the teams? You'll have to write this down, or Pauline can maybe email it to you. Or,
I can list it again, like I did for the last one. I can do something similar. That helps.
Yeah. And we did this randomly, again, using a random team generator. Pauline, why don't you read the names?
These are for the Connecticut folks. For the Delaware, I should talk with James and we'll get you set up, okay? So Brian, Andrew, A, and Eric, you are our team of 3. Noah and Andy.
Andrew M.
Andy.
Andy.
Leon and Dan.
Dan Hughes. If you work together, let us know. We can change it.
Yeah, we worked together last time.
Yeah, so 1 second. This is a Delaware.
Oh, it is? No. Am I missing someone? Do we have 17 in Connecticut?
Yeah.
You tell me where Delaware. Am I missing?
Sorry, guys.
Who's this? Who's that?
So
Ah,
you forgot Sterling?
I have a mistake in my list.
So that's who he's with.
What?
That's who he's with.
Sounds like a programming error.
What is it? So Stephen and Sterling.
Stephen and Sterling, then.
Or no, I lied. Wait, was that right? No, Leon and Sterling. Stephen and Dan Hughes. Sorry about that. We forgot you, Sterling. Sorry. Larry and Van. Carl and Matt. We did not do this. It was, I promise you, it was a random generator. Liz and Kristen. And Tony and Nick.
So what are the odds of that the only 2 women in the group come out on the same team?
It's going to be great, right?
Yes, sir.
So did you all get that, Pauline? Let me copy this.
Please.
Now.
So I
Is
don't
there a place where everybody's email address is?
The Google group.
the Google group sends an email to everyone, but not individual emails unless they had, or phone numbers or whatever, unless they had posted it for public use in that create 1 document. I'll create a create 2 document. And again, if you want to share your contact information in there, you can.
Yeah, because I'd like to email Liz, but I don't have your email address, Liz.
Yeah, so maybe what we'll do is we'll put the email addresses in this email that we'll send out, which is the teams. So do we know if everyone's here?
There's 22, so I'm missing 1 person. No, 2 people.
Okay. So the goal for the weekend.
I don't think Van's on.
Get together with your teammate, your partner online or the phone and brainstorm, because according to the pacing guide on Monday, we will do a presentation of your project idea. Now, it says that this is going to be in the AM, but it may actually be in the PM, right? If we're going to have someone absent.
Yeah, we may switch around, but in any case, he'd be presenting in person.
Yeah, so you may have some time on Monday morning when you're together in person to meet with your teammate and finish up. But it won't be a lot of time. You know, most a half hour, an hour. Okay, so it'd be good if you scope it out over the weekend. And by all means, email us if you have ideas that you want to run it by us over the weekend. I'll be working on stuff, so I'll be around.
Hey, Ralph.
Yeah.
One question I had that came up again with the videos versus the way we were taught in class on naming conventions.
Uh-huh.
Is there a school of thought, like if you're naming a button, like button start or button, you know, I don't know, reset, to name it button reset versus reset button?
So the reason I like button reset is because when you go over to the blocks editor, the components are listed in alphabetical order. And if you name it start button, quit button, the buttons aren't necessarily going to be next to each other. If you name it button start, button quit, then those two buttons will be next to each other in the blocks editor. So, but there's no, in terms of readability of your app itself, there's no preference for one or the other. I just find it easier to have things grouped by component.
Okay. It was just one of those differences. I got in that habit from watching, you know, from being in class, you know, of calling it button reset. And then the videos from, again, I forgot his name, the guy in California.
Dave likes reset button, start button.
Correct. Okay.
I think it was Paint Pot, back in Paint Pot, where there was actually a reflection question about select all of these that have an appropriate name, and it was, you know, button refresh or refresh button. Those were the two correct answers out of all 5. So there actually was a lesson about that, and they gave those as 2 acceptable ones. But yeah, I take what Ralph says and agree with what he says about its preference and what you like as far as the blocks editor.
You know, some of you that teach Java might recognize that, you know, the naming conventions to some degree in App Inventor are Java-like rather than, say, Python-like. So they use camel case components, which are like objects, start with a capital letter. Procedures and built-in functions start with a lowercase letter. And I don't know to what degree they use camel case, but if you're going to be transitioning in your courses to Java, you might want to just have students, you know, get students in the habit of using those conventions, naming conventions. That's completely up to you guys.
So when we teach it, we should teach, you recommend teaching button reset.
I like it that way.
Okay.
I don't want to be the naming maven, though.
No, I just think it should be consistent.
Yeah. Very good. So any last questions as we wrap up the 3rd week? You guys are all doing terrific, at least based on the number of questions we're getting and complaints or you know, issues that are being raised. So if you're struggling and not telling us, then I'm worried. But I'm going to be an optimist and assume I'm not hearing any bad news. That there's no bad news to hear. So that is indeed the case. You guys are doing really terrific. So hats off. One more week. It should be a fun week in person in both places. So we'll look forward to seeing you here in Connecticut. Pauline, unfortunately, won't be able to see her Delaware next week. We're keeping her here.
So I wanted to ask, kind of go around real quick as like a check. How many of, just tell me a number. How many are you expecting to be in attendance for next Friday? So Andrew, can you give me a number? Andrew A?
Myself? I don't know about anybody else, though, because I got family that are kind of here, there, and everywhere. So definitely me. As of right now, nobody else.
So 0?
Yes.
2 for the other Andrew. Okay. Eric?
Just myself right now.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
This Monday. Huh?
Steven?
Yeah, I'll probably be there.
No, are you inviting anyone else?
Oh, no.
Better be there. What do you mean you're probably
Gonna be there.
No, I was not planning on inviting anyone else.
Matt?
Just me.
Tony?
Just me.
Nick?
Just me.
Dan?
I guess just me. I haven't really checked with anyone yet, but probably just me.
Brian?
Probably just me.
Leon?
Skip over to Carl.
Also just me.
Oh,
Does that mean
Leon
just you?
says I'll bring a couple. Leon answered in
couple?
the text. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can change your minds next week. Pauline's giving me the stink eye.
Because I don't want to be on camera and show you my face right now since we're still recording.
All right. I say thank goodness it's Friday.
Amen.
Well, have a good weekend. We done? I move we adjourn for the weekend.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a nice weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
So-
Enjoy your weekend.
Bye-bye.
You too. Have a good weekend, everybody.